Good morning, members of the media, members of State Capitol Police, members of museum staff. My name is Amelia Cowens, and I'm the Assistant Communications Director here at the museum. And I'd like to thank you all for being here today for this wonderful, wonderful occasion. I'm not going to delay. I'm going to bring our director, Dr. Coster, up here so that he can address you this morning and talk about all of the entities that work together to help bring this case to resolution. Dr. Coster.
Thank you very much, Amelia, and good morning to you all. Thank you to the members of the news media, to the State Capitol Police, and to digital media, one of the parts of the museum's organization that makes this possible. I'm Emlyn Coster, the director of the museum, and a geologist and an erstwhile dinosaur hunter in Alberta Badlands and China's Gobi Desert. So I appreciate what we're doing this morning and your interest in it. We could call this a reunion of a young Cretaceous dinosaur family. It's been a 2-week-long story, and I'd like to just briefly introduce you to it. So the Edmontosaurus, named after the Edmonton Formation near the city of Edmonton in Alberta, Canada, is the dinosaur in question here. We have a display of it here on the 3rd floor of the Museum of Natural Sciences. This part of the museum asks the question, what do we know with the North Carolina lens? And we know from the fossil record what used to live here. Edmontosaurus was a plant-eating dinosaur that lived within the last few million years before the extinction of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. A plant eater and an egg layer, and we have an exhibit here of a mother tending her nest with 2 hatchlings. Well, we did have 2 hatchlings until 2 weeks ago. Most of you here know the story well, that it was just a week ago today, last Monday, that the baby dinosaur was returned to us, and the events all unfolded in the previous week. It was on the Tuesday morning that our routine check of the exhibits before we opened to the public at 9 detected that one of the hatchlings had been removed from its nest. We would review the video on that Tuesday and could quite clearly see on very high quality color video that all of you have probably seen, video surveillance that I'd like to give credit to George Gomez of J&A Engineering in Georgia, who has outfitted both buildings of this museum with this quality of surveillance video. It was very clear what had happened in terms of one of the suspects leaping over the glass balustrade and seizing the egg and putting it in a bag. We could see all that on video. We also saw late that same night through security that somebody had dropped off a package at the outside of our loading dock. That video would be looked at the next morning on the Thursday, and all of this video was handed across to the authorities, specifically to the City Council Bureau of Investigation and soon to the State Capitol Police. The rest of the story was widely reported on. It went viral, and the dinosaur baby was retrieved. The pair of suspects turned themselves in and were charged, and that is now in the hands of the authorities. So this is a story then of the power of surveillance cameras, the cooperation between the State Museum of Natural Sciences and the State Capitol Police and our own staff. And I particularly would like to acknowledge that since the 1930s, that the state of North Carolina has had on its policies, on its statutes, a law that charges as a felony any theft or damage over $50 to the holdings of a museum or of a library. This then makes this incident a serious matter, and as I said, that matter is now in the hands of the authorities. So this morning, in a moment, we're going to witness the return of the baby Edmontosaurus into its nest in a secure fashion. The surveillance cameras continue, and again, I want to thank all of you in the news media for covering this story so enthusiastically and sending it nationwide and worldwide, and for the return of this incident or the closure of this incident this morning. I'd like to also recognize David Myers from our Visitor Services, who is here to my left, your right, who is a retired police officer with the State Capitol Police, with the Raleigh Police, I beg your pardon, who was instrumental in helping us review the surveillance videos and working with the authorities. And Jason Whitman is here from Exhibitions, who will oversee the installation of the now returned baby dinosaur. And Thomas Rochford from the State Capitol Police is here, along with several of his colleagues, who is also available for interview. So welcome again to this third floor of the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, to the happy conclusion of a 2-week-long story in which a nest of Edmontosaurus is made whole again through the quick action of the work on surveillance videos and the diligence and the investigation of the State Capitol Police. I thank you all for bringing a happy end to this story, and I would now like to open to questions before we go to the site of the restoration. Any questions from any member of the news media?
Most obvious question, sir. Are you changing security procedures to make this exhibit a little more secure, or what's it?
You'll be hearing how we're making the reattachment even more secure than it was, and the details of that will be shown to you very clearly as we go down the corridor here to see it reinstalled. We already have clearly very fine quality surveillance cameras, and perhaps people are surprised that a museum would be covered as it is by that kind of quality and frequency of surveillance, but we're very pleased that we have it. Clearly it works, and it was very clear, and so I think we're well set, and now the public's attention is drawn to the fact that it's a crime to do this. Well, it was an original design. We clearly have the paperwork that documents that the cost charged by the fabricator of that baby dinosaur. It's a very creative piece of work to model a dinosaur, to incorporate all of the scientific evidence that is known as it was in the year 2000 when this particular display opened. And so that's the cost. $10,000 was the bill that the museum paid as part of its capital campaign then, in order to pay for somebody's creativity that made that baby dinosaur. We're happy it's back at that cost. Yes?
How much did it cost to repair it? You said there was some damage.
I don't know that cost of repair, but my colleague Jason is probably going to be able to give you that detail. Jason, are you available? Sure. Yes. Do you have a sense of the cost of the repair and the reinstallation? Do you want to come forward? Just take to the mic.
We haven't really broken it down monetarily wise. It was fairly minimal as far as the paint and repair work done to it. Hours, I would say around 10 hours worth of labor, but
right.
Yeah, we can break that down.
But you're repairing and replacing a baby dinosaur that was quite violently plucked from its mount, and you've strengthened the mount going forward, right?
Yes, yeah, so it's actually ready to be pinned back in. We've added an additional anchor for it, and I'm going to be doing some more adhesive to the spots.
Some very good glue is involved, I'm sure.
Yes, but not too good, because I also, if he's taken again, I don't want it to be so violent and so much repair this time around. So
Thank you.
I'm just gonna.
We'll see your work shortly. Any other questions from me at the podium?
Do you know why they took it?
I do not know the motive. I suspect they were not aware that there were surveillance cameras, otherwise they might not have done it. I do not know the motive, and the police may wish to comment on that, but I'm not at liberty to do that.
Have you had an exhibit stolen before, and if so, is this the most expensive?
I've been here for a year and a half of this 135-year museum, so I may not be the authority on that. I'm going to lean on John. Do we know any previous theft of any magnitude to this museum? 12 years and no previous incident? No? The answer is no. But we have the cameras. They clearly work. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? David, would you like to add anything?
Other than the first question that y'all asked was about our security. That is something like any other business that is reviewed daily. And we look at that and we take into account what took place and we review that so that if we can make some changes or need to make some changes, then we'll do that. But I think the staff of the museum here was tremendous. They all teamed together with what we needed. We were able to get what we need quickly from them. And by doing so, we were able to get this to the law enforcement, State Capitol Police, fairly quickly. And that helped us to get it out to y'all as the media. And it just shows that the community, working as a whole, can obviously do a much better job than one individual or one agency. We all worked together, and it came together very quickly. And we'd just like to thank all of y'all for, helping us get our dinosaur back.
Excuse my ignorance, but and this may have already been said in weeks past or days past. Did you all discover it by reviewing?
I was going to mention that. I have three other quick things to mention. I'll come back to that question in a moment. So I do want to sort of double back on the commendation to the police authorities who, in their own release of the week before last, made the important statement that here we have a state treasure, state museums, whether it's the Museum of History, where some other artifacts were taken, or this Museum of Natural Sciences. It is important for there to be a sort of a collective sense of ownership of what is within these museums, and I thank the police for making a point about that. It's a matter of pride that this is being restored. Secondly, on the matter of detecting it, I think it's also to be seen as impressive that every morning here, in these several 100,000 square feet of exhibits, the 4 floors in this building which opened in 2000 and the 3 floors of the Nature Research Center that opened in 2012, there is a detailed pre-opening check to ensure that the place is ready for visitors as they arrive, school children, camp groups, families, tourists at 9 o'clock. And it was through that physical walk-around detection that maybe something fairly conspicuous, that one of these baby dinosaurs was missing. We then went to the video and saw all of the clear evidence of doing it. And since I'm standing in front of a ferocious skull of Tyrannosaurus rex, I should mention, just for your paleontological knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, that if you were a hadrosaur, the type of dinosaur that the Edmontosaurus was a member of, your chief predator was what's standing behind me. Tyrannosaurus rex was alive and well in the last 5 or 10 million years of the Cretaceous period, and this was the peak predator that would have bared down for food on specimens like the Edmontosaurus. So that's just a bit of paleontological detail for you. Are there any other questions? So I invite you to take your cameras and follow Amelia down the corridor, and thank you again for coming, and you're in the capable hands now of Jason Whitman. Thank you, Jason. I'll just add that the fossil record gives us very conclusive evidence of how reptiles, even back 70 million years ago, were making nests that they would physically mound out of sediment to create the central low area, and would move to it vegetation, decaying vegetation that would add heat to the eggs, and the eggs would be laid often in a very geometric fashion within the nesting site, and they would be protected by the adults. So we find fossil nests of dinosaurs. They were first found dramatically in the Gobi Desert in outer Mongolia, and then in southern Alberta, Canada. Most hadrosaurs are characterized by their big head crests. This one characteristic does not have that. It's part of the hadrosaur family, but it's one of the distinctive characteristics, as you can see from the skeleton above where the nest is. And there were crocodiles and other aquatic organisms that might have fancied a hadrosaur egg for lunch, and so that's a danger as well. So we can reconstruct these landscapes and the ecology with quite a lot of accuracy.